Welcome to Brightly, You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, we share soul-driven advice and topics to help you live more brightly in mind, body, and spirit. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and passions, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself, inch by inch.
We're back.
To anybody who doesn't listen to these in order as they're released, it doesn't matter. But for us, it's been like a month.
Since it hasn't been a month for the listeners, but it's been a month for us.
Yeah. How's life? How you been?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, got a couple hours. Like we need a good, solid time together to just like update each other and not update, just to spend some quality time.
But yeah, let's go with quality time because my biggest update is I can breathe through my nose again. So not COVID, if anyone's wondering, but I caught a cold. And it seems like the world kind of had a cold in this past April. I know when we last thought we were going to do the podcast and you asked how I was feeling and I'm like, mood great, nose raw, mind feral. I don't know if you want to put me, if I should be recording my thoughts right now. And then it led to later in the evening when my sister checked in with me. It was like mood good, mind and body aren't super capable or trustworthy.
I like that.
And then I slept for like 17 hours straight and nobody checked in on me. Like I slept through, I was just telling you, I slept through work meetings and he's like, yeah, you were pretty sick. That's what I figured. That's what happened. It's like, dude, you got to check in on me. I count on you.
You're my little lifeline to the outside world Monday through Friday.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's life for us. What have you been thinking about lately? Anything come to mind?
Well, yeah, one thing came to mind. My days, like time management and focus. That's what I've been thinking about lately.
That sounds like a future episode for us.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I'm trying out some new things, some different things. I mean, I've also been thinking about a lot of other things, but I'm not going to share those right now.
Okay. I mostly have been thinking about how being a human is really weird.
Being a human is really weird. It feels like it's gotten weirder.
Yes. Is that kind of a weird meta thing to say? Right. Like my thoughts originally were just like, it's so weird how aware I am of whether or not I can breathe through my nose. And just like the basic, like just being a human is weird. And then it just delved into as I got better and just started like rejoining the world and talking to people and apps and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, the experiences of humans are just odd. It's a weird time to be alive. What's getting weirder for you?
Oh, that's such a big question right now. I feel like the things that are getting weirder are also I'm able to almost step back from and just view them. So I would say like relationship wise, the world in general, work can be so weird. And yet I feel the weirder it gets, the better I'm able to sort of not disconnect, but in a way, just like step back and view it and then try and pull it apart and think about it.
Would you have done that 20 or 30 years ago?
Good Lord, no.
So there is something to be said about the life stage because I think I'm better at doing that now too, of just not having the reaction or maybe just trusting that the weirder, no matter how weird it gets, I can get through it. But my early 20s, it just would have spiraled, would not have been a good look on me.
I think in my 20s and even 30s, I just wouldn't have even noticed it because it just would have been like, I'm too busy.
Ooh.
I just, yeah.
Well, a part of my rejoining society was to listen to our last episode 64 called Partner. And we talked a lot about being a good partner.
Yeah.
And you said something around, like for you and your relationships, because you brought up relationships earlier too, but like that being together was more important than being right. And my it's so weird. I experienced the podcast and the conversation in the moment, but then I get to listen to it and have more thoughts and feelings about it.
Yes, it's completely different when you listen to it. But I believe I said it's more important to be happy than to be right.
That too. You said both.
Oh, I did. Interesting.
You did.
Maybe I need to listen to it.
And so, in the moment when we're doing the podcast, we're not just having a conversation. I am listening to listen, but I also have to be prepared to say something, right? We don't want too much dead air because I don't like to edit. As our longtime listeners may know. But my thought when listening back to it, like we had so many great thoughts and concepts about being a partner of any kind, right? Like you and I are partners as friends, podcast hosts, you have a partnership with your husband, stuff like that. But I was like, romantically or just in general, what if you weren't together with anyone? And we spent so much time talking about how to be a good partner that I just left wondering, I'm in a much different stage than you are right now. I'm just like, how do you get one? Like, if I want to be a partner, I got to have one, right? Yeah. Like, if I want to do the buddy system for life, I got to find a buddy.
You don't want to rely on Ken forever to check in.
Right.
On him,
yeah.
right?
I need somebody else to notice when I sleep for 17 hours and be able to do something about it. Not just, I bet she's fine. But so, so first of all, so this is going to be more about a romantic love or, an eros kind of love. I think that's the God that's attributed to it. I know a lot of people, before you turn this off, before you're like, not another thing about how to find love. This topic is not, or this is kind of an ask of you too. This isn't going to delve into self-love. This is not about how you have to love yourself first. God, I hope you do, but absolutely don't take that away. Don't take the prospect of being loved by other people away from yourself if you don't fully love yourself right now. I think
that's a beautiful point, because otherwise that's just another weight on our shoulders.
Right. Yes. And so don't worry, that's not where I'm going to go with that. It's more going to be around my fevered musings of being
nothing I love better than your fevered musings.
Did I send any?
Just TikToks.
I told everybody in my life that I'm quitting TikTok cold turkey, and then 12 hours later they're like, "Hey,
yeah."
And I was confused. Like, I'm very ill.
I gave you a pass. Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. So, Amy, do you believe in romantic love?
Well, I should hope so. Yes, absolutely. I believe in romantic love.
What is romantic love to you? What does it mean? Or what does it look like? I mean, you don't have to share like personal details, but
yeah, that's a really
sure we
good
have
question.
Shared understanding.
So I feel like romantic love is typically starts with an attraction, and many times that can be a physical attraction, but it can also be a different attraction, which has happened with me before. It can be a super like personality attraction that then leads to more of like the physical attraction. So there's a mutual attraction. There is a concern for the other person, a caring, a wanting to not please, not like people pleaser, but like wanting to bestow things on the other person, wanting to do things for the other person, kissing,
la la,
sharing, maybe like sharing things that I love with the other person sharing things that they love, us doing things together that create sort of this atmosphere. I feel like I could go on and on about what romantic love is.
You sound like a Disney princess.
I am a Disney princess. Actually, I'm not. I'm the queen. I'm the wicked queen.
The princess has to grow up someday.
Exactly.
So, for me, for romantic love, it's a lot of the things you just described remind me of the episode we talked about where we encourage people to romanticize their everyday life.
Oh, yeah.
And that didn't mean that you had to have any sort of partner to do that, right? It was about looking at the everyday, quote unquote, mundane as special.
Yeah.
And so as you were just sharing all those wonderful examples and ways that you see romantic love or that kind of encompass that a romantic relationship, to me, it was just someone in your life whom you view as special, right? And that you share special experiences with. There are 4 different types of love. So eros, which is the erotic, passionate love. Philia, I think I'm saying that right, is love of friends and equals. Storge, which is love of parents for children. And then agape, love of mankind, is what just came up in like a quick little
interesting
Google search. Some people say that there are 12 types of love. Like there's a self-love, an enduring love, a playful love. Like there's just so many different ways to view and experience the word love, which is why I wanted to know like how you view romantic love. So I see it kind of similarly to you as it's a person or persons, you could be polyamorous, that you have an intimacy with, right? And whether or not you
didn't use that word. And that is actually,
I was glad you didn't, because it was in my notes.
Well, I'm glad, because that encompasses the whole thing, is intimacy. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so intimacy, again, it's a person that's just a little bit more special to you than everybody else, sometimes a whole lot more special. And then sometimes there's physical intimacy with that as well. And I think we're in romantic partnerships or those types of relationships, both of those things kind of ebb and flows with different peaks and valleys too. And so don't think just because you don't have one of the types of intimacy that Amy, gave an example of, it doesn't mean you're not in a romantic relationship. We're not here to put labels on your
yeah. And I would say you can have intimacy, absolutely, like you just said, without having a physical aspect to it. You can be deeply intimate with a romantic partner and not actually have the physical aspect of it.
Well, and there are a lot of people that have or would call their relationship deeply romantic, but to them it's just the passion part of what you talked about,
right?
Not the connection and the intimacy and sharing our feelings, right? Like maybe my girlfriends is who I share my feelings with, but oh my God, my ride or die is this gentleman over here, right? And like, there's so many different types of love. But so for right now, I kind of want to talk about that experience of finding the one, as movies tell us. And again, whether you're polyamorous or, we're both heterosexual women. And those are the types of relationships that we have experiences to speak of. But I think trying to find the person or persons you connect with is like, it goes beyond cultural drivers, right? I think the impetus and like wanting to have that partner is in me, not just because I grew up watching The Little Mermaid on repeat.
I agree. I think that is, it's in you because that is, well, first of all, it goes back to survival of of society, of mankind, right? You need to have partnerships and procreate, but it's more so than just that. We long for that other person who we can always rely on, who's always there for us, I just think that it is within us, no matter who you're attracted to.
And it's so varied what that looks like and what those drivers are for the long term and the very committed based on your cultural background too.
Yes.
Because in American society, and especially in, Caucasian individuals, it's very much about the individual. And like, I leave my family and I go make my own family and then they're my people. Whereas a lot of other cultures, it's, well, yeah, I find my person, but then one, if not both sets of our parents move in, aunts and uncles and everybody. And it's way, like, for me, not having a romantic partner last year during my year of surgeries and health woes and all that was incredibly difficult, because although I have a lot of people in my life to help and take care of me, that's asking a lot, asking somebody to move in and take care of me or bring me to multiple surgeries. And in an era of COVID, when you have to wait in your car in the middle of winter, you can't be in a lobby, right? And there are a lot of cultures and societies where that's not your romantic partner's duty, right? That your entire extended family lives with you, and your aunts and uncles and sisters and everybody are already there, right? So, like, my family did take care of me. I'm not saying I don't have an extended family that's not connected, but it's not necessarily the cultural expectation. Like, when I told my boss yesterday, hey, my sister needs help. Her car, she's had a car rental, she was in an accident. Like, I need to help her get her car back and drop things off and do all this stuff. Most people or most bosses might have an issue with you, changing your schedule last minute for a sister. Right? I know my boss. I know he's not here. He's told me he's helped his siblings before, right? Or he'll take a long lunch to meet his brother or something. So I know we have similar values, and I can use my PTO as I want. I've worked other places that if it wasn't a parent, it wasn't allowed. If it wasn't your child, if it wasn't a spouse, or even just look at like certain rules around what's it called when you take time off for a funeral?
Bereavement.
We have a lot of bereavement rules in our society, and I don't even get time off for a funeral officially under bereavement for a grandparent. It stops at the parent level. It depends on your organization. It depends on where you are. It depends on your boss.
Yes. It's supposed to be anyone whose family or is like family to
now
you.
It says that.
Yes.
But
we're not talking about that.
But that's just like some examples around, some cultural drivers in our society around, needing to be partnered, right? And not wanting to show up to an event alone or something like that.
Sure.
So I was wondering, like, why do you seek a partnered connection, or why did you? What? Because you and Rick, because
I understood the assignment.
No,
I don't. I mean, I didn't. I feel like I wasn't. That's a tough question, because
you said I didn't. So you weren't seeking it.
No. But I feel like, I mean, of course, in my 20s, you want to be dating someone, right? So you are sort of seeking it, but when I was in my 20s, look, kids, don't do what I did, all right? But here's the thing. When I was in my 20s, it was just like, how much fun can I have? How much fun can I have? And then if something happened and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is like long-term for me, or even younger, I guess, oh my gosh, this is tough. Okay. If I go back to being a teenager, yes, I wanted a partner. Absolutely. Someone to go out on dates with, someone to go to dances with, stuff like that. So yes,
I'm more interested in the now. I want to go, let's come back to the present, or the very, very recent, within the past 2 decades, right? So how long have you been married?
It'll be 24 years.
24 years. So 24 years ago, or a little bit longer, I'm assuming you didn't just meet and get married. What was the impetus? Like, so you said you were not seeking a partnered connection. So what were you seeking?
Tracy, you have hit on a very volatile issue that I realize you probably didn't know.
Oh, and you don't have to share. So the whole thing,
I was not looking. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so you weren't looking. So I'm currently, or I have been looking, right? Like I did not spend my 20s that way. my 20s and into my early 30s, I didn't want to be partnered with anybody. I had great friendships. I have 4 sisters. I have my family lives, within 20 miles. My mom listens to my podcast. So, I have a connected family.
I get that. And I get not wanting to be partnered, but what about just quick, a date or something like that?
As an introvert with social anxiety, it was not high on my list.
Oh.
And so now since switching, in the past, almost decade, or so, of just kind of being like, oh, maybe I don't want to, do this whole thing alone. Maybe I do want that kind of a partner, especially as all of my friends have coupled up and they're not as, I don't even know what I lost the word. This is why we didn't do the podcast while I was sick. As available to me as they were, as in the past when I got, random spontaneous ideas to do things. Right.
Yes.
And so now that I am looking and I am on the apps, I'm at an age where both me and the other person, we're filtering. We know what we want and what we don't want. Right.
I'm almost a true story.
Right. I also know there is so many people my age that are either getting out of really long-term relationships or even marriages. And they're not looking for anything serious, just got out of something serious. And I'm I'm sorry. I'm the complete opposite. I'd love to get to know you, but I am looking for something serious because I've been doing the opposite for, the amount of time that you were coupled. And so I stumbled upon this idea or this concept around, because I have been looking and not super seriously. I don't take it very seriously, but every time you get on the apps, it's just a little deflating. If anybody else is single and out there knows, it's oh, this is what's available for me, or this is what also happens to be looking the same time. And it's also, the past 2.5 years is this culture change. We're in a pandemic, right? And so there's still a lot of people not willing to go out and about or just not able to, or the complete opposite. They want to get a little bit more serious than I want to, right? I'm not talking marriage 0 to 60 miles per hour, right? I want to date with intention. I'm not thinking the next person I talk to seriously is going to be the man I marry. But so the concept that I stumbled upon that I wanted to kind of flesh out with you is I am worth finding versus finding or looking for someone.
Okay. Yeah. But so then my question would be, yes. My comment is, yes, you are worth finding.
Thank you.
And my question is, how do you find without looking? How do you get found if you're not out looking?
You just have to be findable. So there is the one part that we're not going to talk about in depth, where it is know what you want in life and in a partner, what kind of partner you want to be, what kind of partner you want, what kind of life you want to lead, and then make good choices according to that and or live that way. But mostly, instead of just looking and every guy you meet or every girl you meet that stumbles upon your path or whatever, and evaluating, are they single? Do they got that ring check, right? Do they filters? Just be findable. Instead of going to dating events, think about the type of person you would like to be partnered with. Where do they hang out, right? If you envision your life and this is my partner and we are married and this is what we do on Saturdays and these are their hobbies, go where that person's gonna be.
Yeah, I love that idea. I feel like that is something that is completely doable. I think that is doable, right? That doesn't sound, well, how am I supposed to find him? Well, I don't know, Todd. Go to the Renaissance Festival. I don't know, right?
Yeah, that's just it. So it's not about, so kind of that concept of I'm looking for a partner, right? You tend to end up doing things or in situations where you're probably not going to be your best self the entire time because you don't really want to be there, right? If you don't want to spend your weekends at a bar, don't look for a fella at the bar.
Well, yes, I love that. another thing just came to me, and this does go back to when I was like 18, 19 years old. And my mom said, now you have to remember, my mom grew up during the Depression. So this is old school, but she had a point. She's like, don't look like you're looking for something. Like, you just go out and have fun and you see what happens.
So, and that's just it. And I think this is where the self-love advocates kind of take it too far. Like, you just have to be you. And like, I know, like, just like the concept of like, I have to be authentic. It's just like, I want to yak, right? Like, like it's so much easier just to use humor and deflect and like, just go out and like, do like the have fun stuff. But like, if you think of, so many people meet their significant other in college because those are the areas where you're most going to be yourself, or you're finding yourself and you're doing things, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're in classes that pertain to your interests.
Yes,
you're in extracurriculars that pertain to your interests. You're making all these friend groups that have similar interests and values, right? So if you didn't happen to, meet that person at college, or you didn't go to college, or if you're like me and you work from home now, like, think about what your values are and what you want your life to look like, and then go live that life. And like, hope upon hope that, you just meet other cool people there. And so maybe you're not going to meet, for me, maybe I'm not going to meet the guy of my dreams, but he might have a sister that I become best friends with. And then is like, oh my God, you got to meet my brother, right? Like,
yeah,
so many ways to meet people through other people, or through doing things, or like, I have tap dancing lessons tomorrow. And do I necessarily think I'm going to meet the man of my dreams while tippity tapping? No, I don't think there are going to be any men in my class at all. Might somebody see me walking around with tap shoes, or might I have like a fun story to tell when I do run into somebody, or when I do go to work, or, like I said, the other tappers might see me being my most authentic, happy, joyful self and be like, oh my God, I want to invite her to this other person who I know who is their authentic, joyful, happy self.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
So one of my favorite quotes when it comes to dating, and when it comes to like considering like, how am I findable, and that whole being you thing. It says the quote, it's by Tim Kreider. He's an essayist. This was an essay he wrote that was published in a few papers, but it's, if we want the rewards of being loved, we must submit to the mortifying ordeal of being known.
Oh God.
Right? Doesn't it just kind of make you like want to just like suck into yourself?
Yes. And the fact, I love the mortifying ordeal
of being known,
because you know what he's talking about, like being known, like every flaw, every beautiful thing, every little dent, and everything, the totality of who you are.
Well, and even the things that you think aren't attractive to the type of person you're trying to attract. So like for me in my early 20s, I was obsessively into movies and TV shows at a time Netflix delivered in your mail. It was not right. But I worked at a video store and I had a Netflix account and I had all this stuff, and it was a huge hobby, and I had a blog with a friend, and like a newspaper article came out that said the average American sees 2 movies in the theater a year, and we were at 77 in October. And that wasn't even including the rentals and the watch on TV and the things that we own and did. But yet when I was like advertising myself for dating, or like, what are your hobbies and interests, I was so embarrassed by that, because that's not what people are into, that I never talked about it, never did it, until someone set me up on a blind date with somebody who absolutely hates movies. And I was like, oh God, I have to start talking about this a little bit more, because that is not a life I want.
Oh, see, that is so important. So even if it's something that you think, oh, this is silly that I like this, or other people might judge me, I love it that you actually met someone who hated the thing that you loved. And then that was like a hard stop for you.
And for me, I was like, I know so many girls who like undercut their hobbies or their interests so that their fellas will be more interested in them, or so many girls who lose out on those things. And I mean, again, my only experience is heterosexual relationships, but like so many people that have done that, that have just like forsaken themselves because they wanted love so much. And in that moment, I realized, right? Like I realized like, if it came down to like love or ever watching a movie again, like, yeah, I hope I choose love. But in that moment, like I went back to the person that set us up for a blind date and I was like, what? Like we were both single, but other than that, like what do we have in common? She was just like, oh my God, opposites attract. And I was like, oh, this girl does not want an opposite. I don't know. Opposite is like, I like hot weather, or I like it hot in my house. I like it cool. And I was just like, I know I'm not going to meet somebody who likes everything I like.
Exactly.
But for them to
just what I was
oh.
going to say. And if you had been just completely on point with everything else, but this person did hate movies and you love them, then that
would have been fine.
That would have been fine. Cause then that's where it's like, are you kidding me? Do you think I go to museums with Rick? No.
Yeah.
No.
You're not, all of your hobbies aren't going to be your partner's hobbies, but you're more likely to meet someone and be findable if you're out doing what you love to do. I'm probably not going to meet someone on my couch, right? Like I have attractive neighbors, but we're just not into each other. So I gotta leave.
Gotta leave the couch.
I gotta leave the couch. Or I mean, they're renters. I could wait for the next ones, but I don't know when their lease is up. I don't know if I want to wait that long.
Oh dear God.
You're telling me.
So funny. But I love this concept of if you want to be findable, do the things that you love. Just go out and do the things that you love. And I feel that that's coming at the whole kind of, you have to love yourself first, sideways in a different way, in a much like, it feels easy. Like what?
Yeah, so there's a Brene Brown quote. I forget which book or if it's just from a talk she gave, but it's a sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. And so maybe you haven't fully reached self-love or like this huge self-confidence and you're like out and about in the world, like, hey, here I am, take it or leave it. I'm not saying you have to be there. But like for me, it was accepting my hobbies and interests are valid. And I live in a society that undercounts a lot of my gender's hobbies and interests, right? And so I took 100%. That as a moment, right? Like that was kind of when I was like, you know what? I'm cool being single while I figure out who I am and what I want to be and like build my life. Whereas I have a lot of friends that are trying to do it in tandem. And there are many of them that are now on their second husbands or second marriages, and they're much better. But I think a huge part of that was they found themselves after they partnered with someone, and it didn't work.
And I think that's why my partnership, Rick's and my partnership, works so well, is that we both are on our second, and we're older. And so now it's at the point where I want to go do this. Yeah, knock yourself out. I'm going to go do this. Okay, have fun. Because we can be ourselves and do the things we love without hurting the other person's feelings.
And you probably have built up a network by, going and doing the things that you love. You found other people that love to do those things, right? So it's not necessarily doing them on your own, or you're excited to meet new people. Right. Like you and I went and did like this nature women, woods and wine nature event. And we met the most amazing women. And I was okay that we didn't stop to exchange information or anything like that. Cause I was like, I know they're going to be here next time I come. Right. Like, and I know just every time I come, there's gonna be great women here. Right. Yes. And we even ran into people we knew.
It was amazing. Yes.
All right. Well, so that's on my journey of, I'm not saying I'm not going to be on the apps, but I'm not going to take it quite as seriously. I recently read a book called How Not to Die Alone by Logan Ury. She, the biggest point on her resume that she talks about a lot is she used to work at Google. And the entire book, as well reviewed as it is very much a data analyst perspective on dating. And for where I am in this journey and like deciding, like, I do want to be partnered or have like a long-term connection. If you're similar to me, I don't recommend the book. I don't. There's a lot of percentages and numbers and like what to accept and not accept. And if you're listening to this podcast, you believe in magic a little bit more than that. But a big reason why I wanted to talk about this with you is we've been talking a lot in the past few episodes about treating ourselves like a business. And that was an area where it was like, I just don't think I can do it. I think that's where my risk analysis, my business analysis, my Excel spreadsheets, my percentages. I think I like this idea of just being like headhunted more. I want to be recruited.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love it. You want to be discovered, right? You want to be discovered, recruited. I love that.
I'm not, my apps or my dating apps are like my LinkedIn. Like I'm there, I'm networking. I got a picture up and some specs, but like largely I'm just doing my thing. And if they come to me, and I'm really challenged sometimes with that kind of perspective, because it was like, well, what if both me and my ideal mate are both taking that perspective?
Okay, just
hoping to bounce in.
Stop analyzing.
But no, we're waiting for a recruiter. We're in a universe. Do your thing. So that's what I have for everybody else. Just tell the universe to do the thing. I want to be found. I want to be recruited. If you are looking for love, and go live your amazing life.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I love this. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us via Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast, or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
And with that, we hope you have a bright and beautiful day.